Moin, ihr wunderbare Menschen des Interwebs. Ich begrüße euch ganz herzlich zurück zu meinem Let's Play von The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Wir sind hier bei von Zieks Zeugenaussage stehen geblieben. Das ist die erste von dieser Verhandlung, The Facts of the Incident. Und da würde ich sagen, hören wir einmal rein, was Van Zieks sagen hat. I was investigating Gregson and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man screaming. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. That testimony was the whole truth. It was. So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right, you haven't explained away anything. In fact, it would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Isogi. It would appear to be a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't the word, it's laughable. What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Okay. Ich habe da jetzt aber leider gar keinen Anhaltspunkt. Also würde ich einfach mal sagen, wir greifen jede der Aussagen an. Weil ich jetzt nicht wüsste, was ich da präsentieren sollte. You were investigating the inspector. What on earth for? I'm not at liberty to say. Sorry? I'd identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene? No, I was privy to his movements in advance. How? I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office. In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you, is that not the case, Lord Van Zieks? I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim, and yet you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man? Okay. Had you ever been to the address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. But at 5 p.m. the sun would only just have gone down. It would still have been reasonable light outside. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I am quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a small desk in the room just here. Yes, I remember, and there was an oil lamp on it, as well as a framed photograph. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate. And what did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. So, who fired the gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room. But you say it was very dark in there. Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is I didn't sense another's presence. Then, could it be that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room? No, that's out of the question. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. This is going from bad to worse. And you say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor? Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Presumably then the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. What? The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of bent powder. But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired? Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I too would dearly like to know that. Okay. Also gibt es angeblich noch eine andere Waffe. Aber die Waffe, die dann auf dem Boden lag, die gehörte doch nicht Gregson. War ja nicht die Waffe von Gregson, oder? A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot, and without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yes, Gina told us about it yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process. But you are supposed to be the Reaper. The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear? I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was. Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand? At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first, nothing more. I see. After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere, I have no idea. Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Barak von Zieks, is lying on multiple fronts. What is that supposed to mean? Good gracious, counsel. The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything? If you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it. You can see it has been blown off by a powerful impact. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long. We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all 3 candles together, which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. That must be because that particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. That's right, when the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other 2 candles would still have been burning, so the fact is... the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum, and the accused claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie. There's more. The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right, we saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged, however. They included a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. And there is a common thread linking all of the documents on that board. Indeed, what is this common thread, counsel? They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Baron von Zieks. All of them? And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Good lord! Interestingly, mein Gott, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Oh no. Also, hat Gregson dann versucht herauszufinden, wer der Reaper ist? Also wer im Namen von Van Zieks sozusagen jeden umgebracht hat, der freigesprochen wurde, um ihm trotzdem seiner gerechten Strafe zuzuführen? Okay. Ich frage mich ja wirklich, wer der Mann ist, der das tut. Und ich habe ein paar Spekulationen, aber ich möchte das jetzt nicht offen aussprechen, weil die teilweise sehr, sehr dämlich sind. Vor allem, wenn es dann nicht stimmt. Deswegen werde ich das jetzt erst nur noch für mich behalten. Aber ich glaube, dass es muss eine Person sein, die wir irgendwie kennen oder von der wir schon mal gehört haben. Das ist jetzt so das Einzige, was ich sagen werde von den Vermutungen, denen ich habe. Und ich kann mir eben dann vorstellen, dass Gregson versucht hat, herauszufinden, wer im Namen von dem Reaper diese Morde begeht. In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations. The Reaper's hideout? And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout. No one would believe that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, counsel. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. Very well, I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Baron von Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Asogi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. All I have done is state the truth as I know it. Casimir's done a brilliant job as ever, drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case, and it's formidable. Counsel, you will submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. Okay, Notice Board. Das müssen wir uns gleich einmal angucken. And now, the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Und bevor wir das machen, möchte ich mir jetzt das einmal angucken. Moment, wir können uns auch nochmal den Autopsiebericht angucken. Tobias Gregson, time of death. Victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind. Additional observations. The caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary. Okay. Das ist das. Dann, ich meine, der Plan wird uns jetzt hier erstmal nicht viel weiterhelfen. Den werden wir wahrscheinlich später noch brauchen. Und dann gucken wir uns jetzt einmal hier dieses Board an. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age. Look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same red-headed league advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. And do you remember? There was a red hairpiece at the scene too. Dr. Gregson, an exponent of the red-headed league then? Ja, also ich habe mir ja schon gedacht, dass das auch noch mit dieser Red-Headed League irgendwie zu tun hat. Okay, aber mehr können wir hier leider nicht untersuchen. Okay. Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. Very well, lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. Ja, also die Aussage hat uns jetzt nicht wirklich weitergeholfen. Und von Zieks. Ey, das ist ja der Kutschenfahrer. So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Names? We don't use names, far too fancy for the likes of us. We are just free and easy, style what we like, live where we wanna live. I give them all a brackets there as if we walk down Fresno and spin a few words into a verse for them. Would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling verse on the street? Everyone calls me gossip. I sell the little tidbits to passers-by, you know? Got an absolute smasher for you, sir. Right up your gunnel, it is. 6 pence is the price and not a penny less. Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now? Oh, come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested. Right, man. Give him the money and see what it is. Pay the man, counsel. Alright. 6 pence it is. You won't regret it, sir. Now get your listening ears on. Just between us, a young couple on Slide Street have just had twins. Is that it? No, that's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? It wants to spread. But that bit's up to you and your mouth, of course. I've got more, you know. Want another juicy one? 6 pence a piece it is, if you're curious. I'm curious, yes, about what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, that unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from under your collar. What about the next witness then? What name do you go by and what do you sell? Me, Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, innit? I sell these lovely little fireworks to all the local school kids. 6 pence a pop. What you say? You weren't exaggerating with little. Do they actually sell? Oh yeah. The second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that if they get 100, they could blow up the school. Not the most savory of ideas, young lady. What you say then? Wanna part with 6 pence for a pop? Wait, what? You want me to buy one? Tell you what, I will let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you could blow up the whole courtroom. Right, a woman. Give her the money and see if she's right. Pay the woman, counsel. Alright, I will buy one. Lovely stuff. Right then, this is something a bit extra just for you. Venus special. Only 600 pence. The 600? It's 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there? And there be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey either. Okay. The Venus special firecracker consisting of 100 smaller firecrackers at 6 pence each. What sort of a bang could it make? Vielleicht the bang of a gunshot. And the last witness, what name do you go by and what do you sell? Bevor wir zu unserem armen Kutschenfahrer kommen, würde ich aber mir gerne nochmal das Feuerwerk hier angucken. Have you had an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of this string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But... They said I could blow up the courtroom. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. The ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like... Yep, a gunshot. Das habe ich mir schon fast gedacht. Okay, das wird noch wichtig, denn ich glaube jetzt nämlich, dass das Geräusch, das von Zieks gehört hat, einer der Feuerwerkskörper war. Think in me. Think all sorts of thoughts. I think, therefore I am. I am, therefore I think. I think. Because I stand there on the street, watching the world go on about me. They call me the observator. Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you Sandwich and you know it. So you don't actually sell anything. The problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice, I do, and think what it means. I don't actually sell anything, no, come to think of it. Pity. No more purchases today, please. Well, we have quite a cast here, it seems. They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord. And always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. Das Wort falsch ausgesprochen, ich weiß. I see, and thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose. Not only that, but they were very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witnessed the crime. Well, I will be beggared, I thought, just between us. Evino Similo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw. What I think is, if all what we see is light and shadow playing with our eyes, is any of it real? Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these three witnesses now. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident. Okay. The Witnesses Account. Das ist die nächste Zeugenaussage. Und mit dieser geht im nächsten Part weiter. Ich bedanke mich ganz herzlich fürs Zusehen. Hoffe, ihr hattet Spaß. Und wenn ihr mögt, sehen wir uns sehr, sehr gerne im nächsten Part wieder. Bis dahin. Ciao.